Okay, so Marvel Television just dropped the trailer for The Punisher: One Last Kill, and wow, it is not what I think anyone was expecting. If you were thinking it was all going to be firefights and explosions, think again. This looks like it's all about a soul on trial. So let's break down the raw, emotional core of this thing, line by devastating line. And really, it all boils down to this one central question. You gotta forget the guns, forget the iconic skull for a second. The entire weight of this trailer, and probably the whole series, is wrestling with this single idea. After every single thing Frank Castle has done, is there any chance for forgiveness? So how does the trailer even get to a question that heavy? Well, it doesn't start with a bang. No, it starts with something way more unsettling. It starts with this intimate, almost gentle invitation. We just hear this voice, and it's so calm, almost familiar, right? Calling out to him. How you doing, brother? It's completely disarming. It feels like a therapy session or just a friend checking in, which is pretty much the last thing you'd ever expect in the world of the Punisher. And man, that's when the alarm bells just start going off. And that one word, brother, it carries so much weight. You immediately start wondering, is this actual family, a guy from his old Marine unit, or is it something way more sinister? Like, is someone using that word just to create this false sense of security right before the knife twists? That ambiguity, it's totally intentional, and it is incredibly effective. So that quiet, unsettling opening, it leads us right into the heart of the whole thing. This is the exact moment the trailer pivots from just being a conversation to this deep moral crisis. It's a desperate search for even a tiny glimmer of hope. And there it is. That's the line that changes absolutely everything. I mean, think about it. Frank Castle, the man who is literally defined by his relentless, brutal vengeance, is asking about God's forgiveness. That isn't the Punisher talking. That's Frank. It's this shocking moment of vulnerability from a guy who's haunted not by his enemies, but by his own soul. He's looking for an exit ramp from his own damnation. And that's it, right there. That's the essence of One Last Kill. The main conflict isn't about hunting down one last bad guy. It's about the last chance for his own soul. This one question just lays it all bare. Frank is at the absolute end of his rope, and he's desperate for any reason to believe he isn't already completely lost. But, just as quickly as that tiny glimmer of hope appears, it gets brutally stamped out. The response that Frank gets is the trailer's dramatic, totally soul-crushing turning point. So Frank puts it all out there, right? He asks for a lifeline. He's asking for just one shred of hope, that there's some kind of light at the end of his very, very dark tunnel. And the answer he gets, well, it's absolute. And boom, there's the verdict. The way the speaker does it is kind of masterful in this terrifying way. He separates himself, right? He leaves this tiny bit of doubt about his own fate, only to just slam the door shut on Frank with this chilling finality. You ain't got a fucking chance. That is one of the coldest, most brutal lines I think I've ever heard in a trailer. Look at this. This is the entire emotional war distilled into one single exchange. You've got Frank's desperate plea for a shared redemption and us on one side, and on the other, you have this cold, absolute verdict, a you. Hope versus finality. It's just absolutely devastating. So where do you go from there? This verdict leads directly to the inevitable aftermath. I mean, what happens when you tell a man who has already lost everything that his very last shred of hope is a complete fantasy? You get this. That's the sound of a cornered animal, It's not just anger you're hearing in his voice. It's this cry of pure, raw desperation. It's the sound of that last glimmer of hope being snuffed out, and Frank is just lashing out at the darkness. And then we hear it again. The repetition here is so important because this isn't some calculated tough guy threat. This is a complete and total breakdown. He's just been pushed way past his limit, and all that's left is this raw, agonizing rage. And this is why it matters so much. That scream is the direct result of the verdict he was just handed. By telling him forgiveness is impossible, the speaker took the very last thing Frank had. He's unleashed the Punisher, but not for vengeance this time. He's unleashed him from a place of utter, bottomless despair. So we kind of end up where we started, but with this much darker certainty. The trailer has masterfully set up a story where the real conflict, it's all internal. So if forgiveness is off the table, if redemption is truly impossible, what's left for Frank Castle to do? The title says it all, right? One last kill. The real question is, who's it going to be? And will taking them down finally be his heaven, or will it be his final irreversible hell?